Hello and welcome to 150 Days of Psalms. My name is Derek Hope and I'm the pastor at Salem Lutheran Church in Orlando, Florida, where each day I am reflecting on one of the 150 Psalms after reading it in its entirety, with my hopes that through my own stories and experiences, you will find your stories and experience in the Psalms as well. Today is the day. It is the big day that we have been headed towards since we started this thing and reading each psalm aloud. 119 is the longest, and it will take a good bit to read. Typically, each day I've been reading the psalm, offering a short reflection, and then a prayer. Since this one is so long, I'm going to actually offer the reflection and the prayer, and then read the psalm with that reflection and prayer as a precursor instead of the thing that follows. I can remember back in my freshman year in college, I was in Army ROTC, and several days a week we had physical training early in the morning, usually before the sun came up. And there were some mornings where I was handed a rope, and with that rope, I was taught how to tie a Swiss seat, kind of a seat that wraps around you so you can use it for rappelling and other sorts of rope sorts of activities. And so on campus, what they would do is one of the upperclassmen would run a rope across a creek, tie it around a tree on the other side, and they would tie the rope to the tree on this side of the creek, and then we would hook up carabiners to that Swiss seat that we were wearing, that we had tied, and to that rope, and we would shimmy across the creek. Later in the year, we went to a training facility where we were to rappel over the edge of a 30-foot tower. Again, we were taught to tie these Swiss seats, and you tied your own Swiss seat, and when you got up to take your turn to rappel, you were hooked in with carabiners and the others that were spotting you, and then you had to rappel over the edge of that tower, trusting that the seat that you tied was going to hold up and that those that were assisting you were doing their job as well. For someone like me who is not a huge fan of heights, backing up over the edge of a 30-foot vertical wall is not my idea of fun. In this psalm, Psalm 119, it can sound, it's many, many, many verses. It's an acrostic. Each of a chunk of verses starts with a letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And it can sound really legalistic because it has a lot of talk about God's law and statutes. 61 times in 176 verses, the God's law is mentioned. And though it sort of sounds legalistic, really it's a psalm about the gift of the law as a way of shaping people's hearts into faithful sorts of living. There are places in it where it talks about my heart, right, being something that is dedicated to God's law and a request that God give life. And so that this law is thought of as a matter of that heart, but also something that is life-giving. For us modern people who very much are focused in our country on individual rights, when we start to talk about law and ordinances and restrictions, we tend to want to push back against that. Even in our present pandemic, you can see people fighting to want to say what their rights are, whether it's relative to masks or protests or whatever it is. We have a strong sense of pushing against the law. But this psalm is really about embracing God's vision for life and the tools that God has gifted us with to live into that life. And it is over many iterations of reflecting on God's law that it gets there. For me, that day when I rappelled over that wall, there was something life-giving to that Swiss seat and life-giving to those that were providing guidance, right? Because it was to help to keep me safe. And ultimately, I accomplished the things that I was supposed to. It was a little terrifying. But those components of that trust and that safety were there, just as it is meant to be with the psalm. Now, I would say that when you're standing at the edge of a tower, it's a little bit easier to focus on the task at hand when you're at peril. Maybe a little bit harder in the day-to-day of life to stay focused on God's will for what we have going on. But still, nonetheless, this psalm is a call to do just that. Let us pray. God of life, we seek human thriving in so many different places. We chase dreams of wealth and put our trust in promises of new technology. We necessarily rely on one another and put our hope in our relationships. And yet our economy, our technology, and the people around us are bound to disappoint us. We disappoint and fail ourselves. Amidst all of this, you invite us to life. Keep inviting, Lord. Keep calling to us. Keep speaking your word of life. Keep pouring your heart into ours that we may be whole. Amen. And now we read Psalm 119. And with each section that's a letter of the Hebrew alphabet, I'll read that letter first and then the verses. Aleph. Happy are they whose way is blameless, who follow the teaching of the Lord. Happy are they who observe your decrees and seek you with all their hearts, who never do any wrong but always walk in your ways. You lay down your commandments that we should fully keep them. Oh, that my ways were made so direct that I might keep your statutes. Then I should not be put to shame when I regard all your commandments. I will thank you with a true heart when I have learned your righteous judgments. I will keep your statutes. Do not utterly forsake me. Bait. How shall the young keep their way clean? By keeping to your word. With my whole heart I seek you. Let me not stray from your commandments. I treasure your promise in my heart that I may not sin against you. Blessed are you, O Lord, instruct me in your statutes. With my lips I recite all the judgments of your mouth. I take greater delight in the way of your decrees than in all manner of riches. I will meditate on your commandments and give attention to your ways. My delight is in your statutes. I will not forget your word. Gimel. Deal kindly with your servant that I may live and keep your word. Open my eyes that I may see the wonders of your teaching. I am a stranger here on earth. Do not hide your commandments from me. My soul is consumed at all times with longing for your judgments. You have rebuked the insolent. Cursed are they who stray from your commandments. Take away from me their scorn and contempt, for I have kept your decrees. Even though rulers sit and plot against me, your servant will meditate on your statutes. For your decrees are my delight, and they are my counselors. Dalet. My soul cleaves to the dust. Give me life according to your word. I have recounted my ways, and you answered me. Instruct me in your statutes. Make me understand the way of your commandments, that I may meditate on your marvelous works. My soul melts away from sorrow. Sustain me according to your word. Take me from the way of lying. Let me find grace through your teaching. I have chosen the way of faithfulness. I set your judgments before me. I hold fast to your decrees, O Lord. Do not put me to shame. I will run the way of your commandments, for you increase my heart's capacity. Hey. Teach me, O Lord, the way of your statutes, and I shall keep it to the end. Give me understanding, and I shall keep your teaching. I shall keep it with all my heart. Lead me in the path of your commandments, for that is my desire. Incline my heart to your decrees and not to unjust gain. Turn my eyes from beholding falsehood. Give me life in your way. Fulfill your promise to your servant, which is for those who fear you. Turn away the reproach that I dread, because your judgments are good. Behold, I long for your commandments. By your righteousness enliven me. Vav. Let your steadfast love come to me, O Lord, and your salvation according to your promise. Then shall I have a word for those who taunt me, because I trust in your word. Do not take the word of truth out of my mouth, for my hope is in your judgments. I will always keep your teaching forever and ever. I will walk at liberty because I study your commandments. I will tell of your decrees before kings and will not be ashamed. I will delight in your commandments that I love. I will lift up my hands to your commandments, and I will meditate on your statutes. Zayin. Remember your word to your servant, because you have given me hope. This is my comfort in my trouble, that your promise enlivens me. The proud have derided me cruelly, but I have not turned from your teaching. When I remember your judgments of old, O Lord, I take great comfort. I am filled with a burning rage because of the wicked who forsake your teaching. Your statutes have been like songs to me wherever I have lived. I remember your name in the night, O Lord, and obey your teaching. This is how it has been with me, because I have kept your commandments. 8. You are my portion, O Lord. I have promised to keep your words. I entreat you with all my heart. Be merciful to me according to your promise. I have considered my ways and turned my feet toward your decrees. I hasten and do not delay to keep your commandments. Though the cords of the wicked entangle me, I do not forget your teaching. At midnight I will rise to give you thanks for your righteous judgments. I am a companion of all who fear you and of those who keep your commandments. Your love, O Lord, fills the earth. Tet. O Lord, you have dealt graciously with your servant according to your word. Teach me discernment and knowledge, for I have believed in your commandments. Before I was afflicted, I went astray, but now I keep your word. You are good and you bring forth good. Teach me your statutes. The proud have smeared me with lies, but I will keep your commandments with my whole heart. Their heart is congealed like fat, but my delight is in your teaching. It is good for me that I have been afflicted, that I might learn your statutes. The teaching of your mouth is dearer to me than thousands in gold and silver. Yod. Your hands have made me and fashioned me. Give me understanding that I may learn your commandments. Those who fear you will be glad when they see me, because I trust in your word. I know, O Lord, that your judgments are right, and that in faithfulness you have afflicted me. Let your loving kindness be my comfort, as you have promised to your servant. Let your compassion come to me that I may live, for your teaching is my delight. Let the arrogant be put to shame, for they wrong me with lies. But I will meditate on your commandments. Let those who fear you return to me, those who know your decrees. Let my heart be sound in your statutes, that I may not be put to shame. Kaf. I have longed for your salvation. I have put my hope in your word. My eyes have failed from watching for your promise, and I say, when will you comfort me? I have become like a water skin dried in smoke, but I have not forgotten your statutes. How long can your servant live? When will you give judgment against my persecutors? The proud have dug pits for me, they who do not keep your teaching. All your commandments are true. Help me, for they persecute me with lies. They had almost made an end of me on earth, but I have not forsaken your commandments. In your loving kindness, revive me, that I may keep the decrees of your mouth. Lamed. O Lord, your word is everlasting. It stands firm in the heavens. Your faithfulness remains from one generation to another. You establish the earth, and it abides. By your decree, these continue to this day, for all things are your servants. If my delight had not been in your teaching, I would have perished in my affliction. I will never forget your commandments, because by them you gave me life. O Lord, I am yours. Save me, for I study your commandments. Though the wicked lie in wait for me to destroy me, I will apply my mind to your decrees. I see that all things come to an end, but your commandment has no bounds. Mem. Oh, how I love your teaching. All the day long it is in my mind. Your commandment has made me wiser than my enemies, for it is always with me. I have more understanding than all my teachers, for your decrees are my study. I am wiser than the elders, because I observe your commandments. I restrain my feet from every evil way, that I may keep your word. I do not turn aside from your judgments, because you yourself have taught me. How sweet are your words to my taste. They are sweeter than honey to my mouth. Through your commandments I gain understanding. Therefore I hate every lying way. Noon. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light upon my path. I have sworn and am determined to keep your righteous judgments. I am deeply troubled. Preserve my life, O Lord, according to your word. Accept, O Lord, the willing tribute of my lips, and teach me your judgments. My life is always in danger, yet I do not forget your teaching. The wicked have set a trap for me, but I have not strayed from your commandments. Your decrees are my inheritance forever. Truly, they are the joy of my heart. I have applied my heart to fulfill your statutes forever and to the end. Samek. I hate crooked people, but your teaching I love. You are my refuge and shield. I hope for your word. Turn away from me, you wicked, so I can keep the commandments of my God. Sustain me according to your promise, that I may live, and do not thwart my hope. Hold me up, and I shall be safe, and I shall always pay heed to your statutes. You spurn all who stray from your statutes. Their deceitfulness is in vain. You clear away all the wicked of the earth like dross. Therefore I love your decrees. My flesh trembles with dread of you. I am afraid of your judgments. Ayin. I have done what is just and right. Do not deliver me to my oppressors. Guarantee your servants good. Let not the proud oppress me. My eyes have failed from watching for your salvation and for your righteous promise. Deal with your servant according to your steadfast love, and teach me your statutes. I am your servant. Grant me understanding that I may know your decrees. It is time to act for the Lord, for they have violated your teaching. Truly I love your commandments more than gold, even the purest gold. Truly I hold all your commandments to be right for me, and paths of falsehood I abhor. Pay. Your decrees are wonderful, therefore I obey them with all my heart. When your word is opened, it gives light, it gives understanding to the simple. I open my mouth and pant because I long for your commandments. Turn to me and be gracious to me, as you always do to those who love your name. Order my footsteps in your word. Let no iniquity have dominion over me. Rescue me from those who oppress me, and I will keep your commandments. Let your face shine upon your servant and teach me your statutes. My eyes shed streams of tears because of people. Do not keep your teaching. Tzadeh. You are righteous, O Lord, and upright are your judgments. You command your decrees in righteousness and in all faithfulness. My indignation has consumed me because my enemies forget your words. Your word is very pure, and your servant loves it. I am small and of little account, yet I do not forget your commandments. Your righteousness is everlasting, and your teaching is true. Trouble and distress have come upon me, yet your commandments are my delight. The righteousness of your decrees is everlasting. Grant me understanding that I may live. Kof. I call with my whole heart. Answer me, O Lord, that I may keep your statutes. I call to you. Save me. I will keep your decrees. I arise early in the morning and I cry out to you. I hope for your word. My eyes are open in the night watches that I may meditate upon your promise. Hear my voice, O Lord, according to your steadfast love, according to your ways give me life. They who pursue malice draw near. They are very far from your teaching. Yes, O Lord, you, O Lord, are near at hand, and all your commandments are true. I have known of your decrees of old, that you have established them forever. Resh. Behold my affliction and deliver me, for I do not forget your teaching. Plead my cause and redeem me according to your promise. Give me life. Deliverance is far from the wicked, for they do not study your statutes. Great is your compassion, O Lord. Preserve my life according to your ways. There are many who persecute and oppress me, yet I have not swerved from your decrees. I look at the treacherous with loathing, they who have not kept your word. See how I love your commandments. O Lord, preserve me by your steadfast love. The sum of your word is truth. Your righteous justice is eternal. Shin. Rulers have persecuted me without cause. My heart stands in awe of your word. I rejoice over your promise as one who finds great spoils. Lies I hate and abhor, your teaching I love. I praise you 7 times a day for your righteous judgments. Grant peace, great peace, have they who love your teaching. For them there is no stumbling block. I have hoped for your salvation, O Lord, and I have fulfilled your commandments. I have kept your decrees, and I have loved them deeply. I have kept your commandments and decrees. Indeed, all my ways are before you. Let my cry, Tav. Let my cry come before you, O Lord. Give me understanding according to your word. Let my supplication come before you. Deliver me according to your promise. My lips shall pour forth your praise when you teach me your statutes. My tongue shall sing of your promise, for all of your commandments are righteous. Let your hand be ready to help me, for I have chosen your commandments. I long for your salvation, O Lord, and your teaching is my delight. Let me live, and I will praise you, and let your judgments help me. I have gone astray like a sheep that is lost. Search for your servant, for I do not forget your commandments. That is the whole of Psalm 119, 176 verses in all, and each chunk beginning with a letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and all the verses there begin with that same letter. Thank you for joining me for 150 days of Psalms. Tomorrow we come back with a much shorter Psalm, number 120.